Hi guys, and welcome to this CG Tuts Plus tutorial. My name is Isaias, and I'm going to be showing you in this video how to create a chess set from scratch. We're going to be using two different modeling techniques. We're going to go ahead and create the board using the box modeling technique, and then we're going to be creating the pieces using the spline modeling technique. This tutorial is aimed at beginners and intermediate users, but I will assume that you at least know some of the basic commands, which I'm going to be using in this particular video, and I'm going to also assume that you're a little bit comfortable with the interface of 3ds Max. In this case, I would like to notice that for making the video a little bit easier to understand, I have set up my keyboard, so when I press a key in my keyboard, you're going to be able to see it on the screen on the left side, as you could see. And it is gonna be a little bit fast-paced video, but I'm gonna try to be as clear and precise as possible, so you can try to understand what the main point of the video is. So before we start creating the board, let's go ahead and actually personalize the interface of 3ds Max at this point, because from my point of view, when you actually put the layout of the program to suit yourself, I don't know, like you feel more comfortable, usually the work goes a little bit faster. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and press on the plus sign in here and then choose configure. I'm gonna go to the layout tab and select this one. This particular layout, I like it more because it gives me a little bit more space on the perspective view, and I usually work a lot in there. Also, I'm gonna enter into the expert mode by hitting Control X, and it is not that I'm an expert or anything, but usually you get more space, as you can see, and it is good to also get used to the fact that all the commands are usually accessed via right-clicking on either anywhere on the screen or a selected object to access most of the commands, or usually you can also access most of the commands using the toolbar on the top. So I'm gonna be using that a lot, and in this case we have to access a lot of times the command panel for making modifications in an object, and that is something that it is very important. Those modifications cannot be accessed any other way, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna be using the hotkey for that. If you go to the customize menu and go to show UI, you're gonna be able to see that we have the option of show command panel. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go to customize user interface, and we're going to go to show command panel. As you can see here, we have it, and we're going to assign a shortcut to that. I'm going to be using Control G, but you can assign anything you want. I believe the default shortcut for that is Control P. I might be wrong, but that's I'm going to be using Control G for this. So after that, I'm going to be able to access this panel very quickly while I'm working. And that way I'm going to be able to just simply make the modifications and still have my space. Another option that I'm going to turn on before we continue, we're going to go to Customize Preferences. In the Files tab, I'm going to be making sure that I have Increment on Save option on. And what that does is that actually when you save a file, instead of writing over the file, it will automatically add a number at the end of the name of the file. That way, you will be able to revert to old versions of your file in case that you did any kind of mistake. And sometimes it is better, because if you make a very big mistake or something that you did not expect, sometimes it is trying to solve that problem is going to take more time than actually finishing the work. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the extended primitives, and I'm going to be using a chamfer box in this case. And for that, what we're going to do is that I'm going to toggle the snap command. I'm going to just simply create a box. It doesn't matter how high, it doesn't matter the height or anything else in this case, because I'm going to be actually modifying the options manually. I'm going to get rid of the box, the bounding box, as you can see, and let's go ahead and actually create the shape that we want. I'm getting rid of the gridding there, and let's go to the modify panel and use this to put the size that I want. Let's put it maybe -3 is okay, and I believe with that we're almost set. Yeah, we're set on that. So what we're going to be using in this case is that we're going to be converting this to an editable poly by right-clicking and going to editable poly, and then we're going to hit number 4 on the keyboard so we can select the faces. If you didn't know, if you were not aware, you can enter the sub-object levels like 1 for the vertices, 2 for the edges, 3 for borders. In this case, the whole poly is closed, so there is no edge, there is no border. Number 4 for faces, number 5 for the whole object. So in this case, we're gonna go for the face, and what we're gonna be doing in this case is that we're gonna right-click and we're gonna use the bevel command. We're just gonna bring it up a little bit, not too much, and for that I need the other views. I'm gonna see how much I'm going up. I believe that 2.5 is okay, and then we're gonna put the outline a little bit. Yeah, I believe with that is okay, and then we're gonna try to use the extrude command. Usually I use the dialog box for these things because actually you have more control over how much you're gonna be putting. Sometimes when you're using the mouse, you move the mouse too much or something like that, and usually you don't get the results that you want. So with this I have a little bit more control. I'm gonna be putting it a little bit higher. Let me see. Yes. And as you can see, it is not going to be a very fancy thing, but it is going to be enough that we can say that it's a chessboard. So I believe with this we're almost set. Let me extrude that a little bit more. That's it. And then we're going to be using, we're going to change to edges, and in this case I want to select the 4 edges around the box, and there's a cool command that we can use for this. We're going to hit Alt R. So what this does is that is making the selection in a ring form. So it is gonna make the selection of the 4 edges at the same time. This works for faces, vertices, and actually it is very useful. There's another command that is Alt L, and what that does is that it makes the selection as a loop. That is another way that maybe we will be seeing later on, but it is good to have this in mind. So I have the 4 edges selected, and we're gonna right click, and I'm gonna be using the chamfer command. Let me use it like this. Let me see. We don't need segments. I'm looking for the amount. We hit OK, and with that we have a pretty basic shape of a board. What we're going to be doing with this is that we're going to apply 2 materials to it, so it actually indeed looks like a chessboard. It is not too fancy, as I said, but it serves as a very simple example of how can you use the extrude commands, the chamfer, and actually the bevel to make a very simple shape, and it might not look that bad when we apply the materials. We're gonna select M to enter to the material editor, and in this case we have 2 materials to apply. We're gonna apply in the middle the checkered surface, that is the one that is gonna be used for plane, and the outside is a wooden material. It is going to be a simple one. We can use very advanced materials for those things to get a very realistic view and stuff, but in this case we're going to just do it with we're going to use a multi-sub object. We're going to discard the old materials. I'm going to just simply set number 2, hit OK. That way we just only have 2 materials. We're going to put in here the checkered. Let's put checker just, and the board and the wood. So for the checkered material, we're just simply going to enter there, and then the diffuse channel, we're going to select the map channel of this, and there's a checker material, very simple to do. The tiling, we're going to be putting it 4x4, and what that is going to do is that it's going to make 8x8 rows. So when we have the first material here, it's just black and white, very simple, and the wood material, what we're going to do is just very simple as well. We're just going to go ahead and put a wood material to this. Actually, no, not here. We're going to just simply put in the diffuse channel. We have the wood here. Click OK. And let's open the window, the preview window, so we can see what we're doing. The first thing that we're gonna do is that we're gonna make the thickness a little bit bigger. As you can see, it gives us this kind of shape. Maybe we're gonna put the axial noise a little bit down so we can get more rounded things, and the noise we can put it up a little bit. The radial noise is the one that controls how many circles you get. So you know, the less you put, the less circles in the middle you have. So let's put it a little bit maybe like this. In this case, I believe it is better if we just simply hit F10 and actually open the render setup, and we're gonna select active shade. With the active shade, what we're gonna do is that we actually select the material. Let me put this, close this, close this as well. I'm gonna put the material here. We're just gonna drag and drop it, and what happens is that the active shade is gonna make a quick render with the materials applied. As you can see, we are seeing the checkered board all over the place, and that is because what we're gonna do actually is that we're gonna enter into the box in here. We're just gonna click on it, select faces, and to the faces we're gonna apply different IDs. So in this case, that's why we need this on. I'm gonna go to the material IDs. The material ID number 1, in this case, when we go to the parents in here in the material editor, we're gonna see that the number 1 is a checkered and the number 2 is the wood. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna select the whole box. Let me make sure that I selected all. Maybe by Control A as well, we'll select the whole thing, and deselect the middle one, and to this one we're gonna assign number 2, which is the wood, and to the one in the middle is gonna be the checkered, is gonna stay number 1. When we open the active shade, we should actually see an update on that. Actually, it seems to be that as I apply the material, I have to initialize the active shade, and there you go. You can see the two materials being applied. Very simple, as you can see. And now when I enter into the wood, let's go to the map again, then I can control the things in here and see the results real time here. Well, not real time, but actually very quickly. And then you just simply look for the one that you like the most. As you can see, it is a basic shape, but it gives the idea of an actual chess board. So that's what we needed. Actually, what I'm gonna do with this is that the number 1, we're gonna inset it a little bit more and select all minus this one, number 2, and this one is number 1. So when we open the active shade, this case, that's what we get. It is a pretty simple image of a board, but it is going to work fine for our purpose, in which you can see how we can apply a very quick material and how we can use the commands like extrude, chamfer, and actually bevel to create a simple shape out of just a box. And now we're going to go ahead and create the pieces. Before we continue, let's save our work. We're going to use Ctrl S to actually save the file. I'm going to give it a name. Let's put chess set and save it. But in this case, I want to create, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the pieces in a different file, and then we're going to go ahead and merge together when everything is done. So before we continue, let's just simply select Ctrl N. We're going to select New All. I'm going to center everything. And now I'm going to be using a background as a reference for our pieces. In this case, there are several ways to do this. Some people, what they do is that they go ahead and go to the create a standard primitive and create a plane in the middle of the screen, and in the plane, in the diffuse channel of any material, they apply a material and put in the diffuse channel the image that they want to use as a reference. That way, what they do is that they have more control over the size of the image. They have more control also of the options like and the preferences like the lighting of the image and such. In this case, we're not going to be using a plane. What we're going to simply do is actually go ahead and put the image as a background in our scene. So what we're gonna do is that I'm gonna hit Alt B, and that is gonna bring up this dialog, the viewport background dialog. So we're gonna go ahead and select files, and I downloaded an image from the internet. It doesn't have to be a very accurate image, it just has to be a reference that you're gonna be using to create your object. And I'm gonna select the option match bitmap. That way the image is not gonna be resized to the size of the viewport. And also we're gonna select lock, zoom and pan. So we're gonna select OK, and there you go, you have the image on your background, as you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the grid, and what we're gonna do in this case is that we're gonna start with the pawn. I'm gonna show the pawn and the bishop, and then the king and the queen, the king actually this side and the queen in this side. I'm just gonna simply show the details, because all of them, these four pieces in here, and actually the rook as well, they share a common technique. The knight actually is a little bit different. We're going to be seeing that in a totally different video, but for the purpose of keeping the time, what we're going to do is just simply show the pawn and the bishop, and then the other two we're going to just simply show the little details like the crowns, and the rook also. We're going to be showing how we can create that after we finish. So let's go ahead and create the pawn as, for the beginning. We're going to be using the spline modeling technique. For that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the create shapes align. First, I'm going to select the snap tool, and this is for actually creating a straight line first. We're just simply going to select here and here and here. Now that I have the straight lines, I am just simply going to put points in the very basic outline shape of the pawn. So that way I don't have to be worrying about details now. I'm just gonna put here and there some points to draw the basic outline. And now that I have that, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna hit 1 to enter to the vertex mode of the spline, and then we're gonna just simply go ahead and put everything in a very well, to match the reference file a little bit more. In this case, actually, I want to mention that the image, the modeling does not have to really be 100% as the reference image, as you might have noticed. It is just a reference image, and we're just going to use it to get the idea. It's good to notice that actually this image, the reference image, is not really 100% in front view. It is not totally flat. It is kind of a perspective view, and for that reason here we have a straight line, but the reference image is actually curved. So in this case, as I mentioned, we don't really have to follow the reference image 100%. So we're just going to go ahead and put the details as we might think it goes. For this, we're going to be using the Fillet command. We're going to open this command on the right side, the command panel, and we're going to go down here to the Fillet option to make round corners and such. For example, as you can see, we are getting a very round image here, a very round line. But before that, let's move this up a little bit. Now use the Fillet to create what I need. So as you can see, this process is going to be very simple. It is usually it does not take much time. But in case that you want to add a lot of details to the image, well, you can take as much as you want. I'm gonna do it as quick as I can for the sake of time. So let's just go ahead and put this like this. These two vertices, we're gonna right click on them, we're gonna select them and click on them and use the smooth option. As you can see, it creates a curve, which is very nice in this case. For what it is exactly what I'm looking for. Sometimes this is not actually what you need. You can change the type of vertices, the type of vertex that it is, so you have more control over the curve or the line that you're trying to make. As you can see, here, maybe this one, we can convert it to a Bezier corner, and then you have more control of the curvature and actually how round it is on one side and how straight it is on the other. So it comes quite handy when they are actually when they have Bezier handles, and if they're simply a corner, they don't have those handles, so sometimes you have to just simply convert them. I'm using the W key to access the move command, as you might have noticed, and right now I'm just gonna keep making fillets. And actually, in this case, when you want to make a round image out of several vertices, you just simply select them, and with the fillet command on, you simply do this. Usually it works better in case that there are, for example, two vertices. Let's delete this one and move this one a little bit here, and then let's try with the fillet again. As you can see, it is more rounded, it is a little bit better, but it's not exactly where I need it, so we just move it a little bit and we fix this here. So as you can see, getting the shape a little bit outlined and some details on, it doesn't take that much time. And after we have this, let me fix this a little bit, maybe like that. After you have that, the only thing that we have to do is apply a modifier. The modifiers can be found here in this toolbar, or as well as this list that we have in here. So in case that you don't have the command panel on, you also can access the modifiers on the toolbar, and we're going to be selecting the lathe modifier. And as you can see, we get a very interesting shape here. What is happening is that the lathe modifier is grabbing that line that we created, and it's actually making a 360 degrees image out of it. In this case, it is in the axis that we're needing, in the y-axis, but it is not in the direction that we need. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna align it to the minimum, and right away you get the shape of a pawn. I don't know if you are noticing that it is exactly what we need. We're gonna select the option well core, and let's go very quickly to the perspective view. And as you can see, we right away have this pawn image perfectly made in a few seconds. Actually, it didn't take that long. When you have this, when you use the lathe modifier, you're gonna see that sometimes it looks a little bit blocky, and it is because of the number of segments. This number of segments, let me show you. We're gonna select the F4 button to see the edges. You're gonna see how many edges we have right now. They are not enough to create a smooth shape, as you can see there. So the more segments you add, the more smooth your image becomes. But as well, you have to know that it is gonna actually affect the performance of your computer. It is gonna affect your memory, and so it is good to put a number that it is between smooth and that it is not that much. I'm gonna keep it on 36. It is okay for me. And there you go, we have a pawn. We're gonna go ahead and very quickly create the bishop. As I mentioned, is essentially the same technique, but in here I want to create the bishop because we have this particular hole in here, and I wanted to talk about that. If you create the same technique that we just did, and in the technique you also include this hole, you're gonna get that on in the whole image. Like for example, the 360 degrees is gonna have this particular hole in there, and that's not what we want. As you can see, this particular thing is only in one side of the bishop. So we're gonna use a technique. We're gonna go ahead and create the line. Let's go ahead, get out of that particular sub-object level. It was selected, so we need to get out of them. And now we're gonna create again a shape. Gonna create the line, straight line to one side. Let me see, straight line to the other. And now we're just going to go ahead, create the basic shape. And here's the thing. I'm gonna close the thing. I'm gonna close the whole image. And actually I made a mistake there. That is because this one here might be, it is a corner, and this one, it is a Bezier. Let's make it a corner as well. So here we have the basic image. We're gonna go ahead and do the same as we did before. We're going to be using the same commands, the fillet in this case, and I'm going to make the roundness here. In this case, I want to add this particular straight line before the roundness here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to right click and select the option refine, and that way I can insert a vertex inside our spline, and that way we're going to have a straight line first, as you can see, and then here we're going to use the fillet command to create the roundness that we were talking about. Let me move this a little bit up to match a little bit more the reference image. I don't know if you're seeing this, but there's a little bit of roundness there before the other amount. Those are kind of little tiny details. I like to add those little details as much as I can, but you have to know that the more you add, the more time you consume on your work. So keep it as you should keep it realistic. Usually when I do a personal project, I try to be as picky as possible, but usually when you're working for somebody else, you might want to actually keep those at minimum for the sake of time saving, because you don't know, sometimes you think you have the time to finish the job on time, and then it happens that you didn't know, something happens in the middle and you do not have enough time. Then you are in a very bad position. So let's go ahead and do the same as we did before. Select smooth. We're gonna select this vertex here. Let me see, we're gonna select Bezier corner so we can have more control over the curve. We're gonna continue with the others as well. And as you can see, it's actually the same technique that we did with the pawn, and this goes as well for the rook and the king and queen. And it is something that I'm not going to be repeating myself over and over, so I'm just going to show these two, and then I'm going to just simply concentrate on the other details. So for this case, let me check. Sometimes you're going to find yourself in a position in which the image is not exactly what you want, so you might want to delete those vertices and start again, and actually try to play a little bit with the options to make sure that you get exactly the image that you are looking for. So let me grab this a little bit far away, and maybe that will work a little bit better. There you go. Let me just simply grab this and make a fillet here as well, and one here as well, so we get these curves. Let's refine a little bit here to add a little bit more detail. I put another one here. This is going to be the curvature, and these two are going to be the corners. So the curvature has to be a little bit more out, so when we make the fillet, as you can see, it enters a little bit more. So there you go. I'm going to make this, let me make a little fillet here and another one here, so we get it a little bit rounded. Good. We're gonna be needing this one here, and as you can see, we're missing some vertices here, so I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3, and the reason is that this one is gonna be here, this one here, this one is gonna be here. So with that done, we're almost finishing with this here. See, yeah, The image is looking very good until now. Let's make a small fillet here and here. Well, there you go. We have a basic shape for the bishop. We're gonna select, and let me check on something, the sizing here. Maybe it is too low. Yeah, it seems to be that it is too low. Put it a little bit up. Maybe this is the basic. Okay. Now we're gonna do the same as before. We're gonna select the lathe modifier. As you can see, I just simply start typing there, and you get it. Again, I'm getting this because it is centered, but we need it in the minimum. And there you go. We have the basic shape for the bishop. In this case, maybe the nose, you can work a little bit on it. And let me check that out on the perspective view. And as you can see, the shape is fine. We don't have problems with the core. The reason why we use the weld core is because of this kind of things. When you see this on your mesh, and especially when you are making a lathe modifier, you need to select the weld core. So now that we have the basic image, what we're gonna go ahead is in creating this particular kind of hole that we have there on that side. And for that, what we're gonna be using is that we're gonna actually create a box, in this case, not a spline. We're gonna go to the standard primitives. We're gonna create a box. We're just gonna simply draw it there. You don't need to worry about the, let me see, where did it go? Oh, I didn't finish creating the box. So you don't need to worry about the specifications of the box yet. Just gonna do it, and then I go to the modify tab. We're gonna be selecting the move command. I'm gonna just simply align it here. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit, but as you might see, actually the image is bent. It is actually, let's put it how it was before. It is actually straight on the bottom and it is bent to the side. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna actually put some segments on the width, probably on the height as well. Let me see, not the height, the length. There you go. So after we have this, we're gonna apply the bend modifier. So for that, we're gonna be using the surface parametric deformance bend modifier. With the bend modifier, we're gonna enter into the gizmo and put it down a little bit, and we're gonna be putting a little bit more of angle, not in the Z, but maybe in the X, no, in the Y in this case. Yeah, there you go. So in this case, as you can see, after we bent it, actually we have to not select the gizmo anymore. I want to rotate the box itself. Okay, here. So as you can see, we're getting almost the shape that we want. The bend modifier is a little bit too much, and with the box selected, we can actually add a little bit more width. Again, it doesn't have to be totally perfect, but we have the basic shape that we were looking for. There you go. And now, in the perspective view, I'm gonna make sure that this box covers both sides. As you can see, it is going from one side to the other. Actually, not completely. There is okay. It is not enough, so we're going to go to the box and add to the height in this case. Yeah, there you go. Move this a little bit to the side. So now that we have this in there, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna select the bishop and go to create, and in here we're gonna select the compound objects. You can also go to create here, and you have the options to go to the compound objects in here. So as I mentioned, you actually usually have those options all over the place, and select Boolean and select the option subtraction A A minus B. You pick operand B, and there you go. Quick and clean, you have a bishop. As you can see, this kind of way of working is pretty simple, and I hope that you find some of the things in here, maybe something that you didn't know, useful and you might use it in your kind of work. So in the next video I'm going to be showing you the already made king, queen and rook, but we're going to be talking about the details like the part of the rook in here and their crowns. So you can see we're going to be working on that apart.